forward in baby steps because eventually everybody else does and the dynamics of life change once again. I went and checked myself into SOS on Fort Bragg shortly later. However, I could not cross over to the other side of having a title or being known as a widow. So I continued acting and thinking that I was still an active duty military spouse for the first few months. However, as my life changed and reality tried to embrace me, I knew one day it was time to see what my new life held for me and my son. Then I went and became involved with SOS. My son and I attended our first function in May 2010 with SOS, as it was a picnic and fun activities for the children. Seeing the support of other survivors and the other children, I knew that I could do this as a widow, as there were many like me and my son in attendance. I began partaking in the SOS classes that were offered about benefits, finances, the Roth IRA, healthcare, and how to deal with grief, and honoring my husband on the SOS Wall of Heroes. Shortly later, the director of SOS would start a steering committee on how SOS could reach further into the community, gain more organizational support, and look ahead to create change from a fresh perspective of the experiences from our widowhood journey that could be offered to the Department of the Army. Therefore, I became a member of this committee. SOS assisted me because I still needed to feel the military connection and that I was somehow still able to give back to the Army. Within this new direction that I would call my life, SOS gave me hope and encouragement that with the changes continually that we would go through, the United States Army still cared about us as family members, and they still provide to survivors. SOS is the providing support of compassion, new beginnings, and change. The staff within SOS would find resources for us that we could take part within, such as different organizations that would offer us services so we could start rebuilding as part of a family. Not only does SOS take care of widows and children, they are here for every individual that has lost a loved one within the military, no matter of how death happened. The support groups tailor to different situations, which is amazing because being with others that understand what one may be going through is much needed. Sometimes words are too much to take, but just being in the vicinity with others that share and know your situation can do so much for healing, and SOS offers this. Today is a significant day as my son and I relocated here from Fort Bragg 2 years ago to reside near Fort Meade, Maryland, and Carlos, who is buried in Section 60 of Arlington National Cemetery. I literally woke up one morning in October of 2010 and said, "It is time to move my son. He needs to be near his father." The relocation to Maryland was hard. No family within a close proximity around to assist, but however, SOS came to my aid. The Fort Bragg office contacted Fort Meade's office, and the new SOS office sent me information about schools, communities, the posts, and assisting me any way to begin this new journey that we would embark upon in Maryland. Since moving to Maryland, I have been able to volunteer with SOS and join the Survivor Advisor Working Group this past January. And being honored to serve on this committee as survivors, we are able to offer information to the Department of the Army's Joint Chief of Staff with survivor issues. We offer continual support of survivors and offer information which could make a positive change in the SOS program. SOS is about assisting survivors, bringing us together, creating change, and remembering that we still exist even though a part of us is gone and missing. As SOS is able to expand the outreach within the military community and raise awareness and advocate, there are numerous different goals that SOS is working to enhance. A current vision that I could foresee SOS embracing is further assisting our heroes' children. The surviving children are growing up to become our future. As a current single parent and now raising a teenager who was 11 years old when his father became KIA, I have watched him try to communicate, transition, and struggle growing up through adolescence without a consistent male role model. Many widows, including myself, sacrifice moving closer to immediate family, to be closer to the burial site of our spouse, and especially to have a base within driving distance. Our future also involves our wounded warriors, and they also try to transition and feel like he or she belongs within society. Their fourth A vision would be to combine our Army's strong community and have surviving children and wounded warriors become and create a big little brother-sister program to each other based on location. So the interaction between wounded warrior and surviving child could benefit them both. Sorry. Take a breath. And having time to interact and form a bond. There are wounded warriors and surviving children all over the nation, and being able to provide hope for both sets of these special individuals, I believe would allow a special bond that only they could understand among themselves. In speaking with a few wounded warriors from my late husband's unit, they provided saying that being able to assist a fellow brother in arms, child of which their parent could not be here for, would give them hope, encouragement, strength, and something to look forward to, that they were able to give back. In speaking with other surviving widows with children, the feedback gained was positive about having a program established like this to offer further support of their children. I personally asked my son about this vision, and he quoted, "Mom, that would be so cool to have somebody that served, that I can talk to, who understands me, can tell me things you cannot, and do fun activities with." SOS could bring this forward in partnering with different wounded warrior battalions or organizations and the surviving children to provide peace, hope, and encouragement of being with somebody who understands and gets them and staying Army strong. There are other issues that I can relate to currently that SOS is working on enhancing and needs further assistance, such as Chapter 35 survivors and dependents educational assistance, the homeowners assistance program, survivor benefits, and dependency and indemnity compensation, to name a few, that will carry widows and their children into the future. My fellow panelists with SOS will provide more information about how SOS is currently assisting survivors and the different functions that a whole SOS we would like to see changed that will lead more into new beginnings and new strengths for survivors. It has been my pleasure and honor to share a little of my story. I would like to thank each and every one of you for your support, encouragement, and listening to how survivors need support from the military community and the United States Army to begin repairing, healing, and moving forward to honor his or her service member and carry on their soldier's legacy into the future. It takes everyone within the Army strong community to be a voice and assist in change. SOS is able to provide and assist survivors with change and provide a voice for us and our soldier, which has served this great nation and paid the ultimate sacrifice regardless of death status. Each soldier does leave survivors and other brothers in arms behind. God bless. Thank you, and stay Army strong, family strong.
Good afternoon. Again, my name is J.C. Abney. I'm the Director for Family Programs for MCOM. And I got to tell you, being the guy who oversees the SOS program on a daily basis for General Ferreter and having the opportunity to sit and talk with so many survivors over the past years, they never cease to amaze me with their strength. And when you talk about resiliency, this is it. So what I'd like to do this afternoon is just talk briefly a little bit about where we've come from and where we are now and where I see our program going in the future. We've heard a lot of good things about SOS over the last couple days, yesterday and today. But I will be the first to tell you that our work is not done yet. And just by the nature of our program and what it was designed to do, our work will not be done. Which is to be with a survivor as long as a survivor wants us to be there for them. It was the 2006 National Defense Authorization Act that directed the services to stand up a centralized short-term and long-term casualty support program for our survivors. 2006. And I would tell you, we kind of sputtered out of the starting block, okay? And I'm sure some of our survivors can attest to that. It really wasn't until 2009 when we really got some robustness behind the program. And what you see out there today in those 232 SOS program coordinators around the world was the result of the work that we started in 2009, really. So no matter really where you go in the country, you can find an SOS coordinator, and it doesn't matter what component, National Guard or Reserve, it's one program. Whether it's providing support to those 5,087 survivors in the state of Texas, or the 57 survivors on the small island of American Samoa, there is someone there from SOS to provide that support. So let me kind of talk a little bit about some of the things that we have going on right now. One of the challenges, let me say, one of the challenges that I have seen with the SOS program is really getting the word out that there is an SOS program and what it's about and what it does. The SOS program is the official survivor support program for the United States Army, and we know that we have to do a better job at getting the word out. General Farrader mentioned yesterday briefly about one of the things that we're doing is we're working on some PSAs, public service announcements, and working diligently to try to have one of those ready for this year's Super Bowl. What a better target. You can't think of a better target than the Super Bowl to really get the word out about SOS and our Gold Star program. What was also mentioned was the ID cards. Interesting story behind the ID cards, and this is some of the challenges you face sometimes when you're trying to put good things and you have good intent in place, but maybe you don't go down the right road with it. Because we initially were trying to come up with a decal, a Gold Star decal for vehicles so you could have easier access going in and out of installations. But what have we kind of seen going on in the last couple years? Decals are really not required as much to get in and out of an installation. They're always requesting now an ID card. So we're going to make sure we get the word out, familiarize our installations and our Army to include, and I know this question is going to come up, what are you doing with joint bases? So to include joint bases, we're going to make sure that we get an MOA in place to work with the joint bases so that that ID card is recognized and there'll be no problem with going into the gates. We're developing new marketing material to get out to the garrisons, and we've been partnering a lot with AFIs. Maybe you had the opportunity over the last couple of years, you probably saw some of these trucks going up and down the highway out there with Army Family Covenant on it when we were really getting the word out on the Army Family Covenant. So this is a true replica right here of one of the AFI's delivery trucks that's out there on the road right now. And we look at this as an opportunity to get the word out because there are geographical dispersed, and we just want to make sure, hey, maybe there's somebody out there that might see that truck going along, and it says SOS and our commitment to survivors, and as that truck goes by, guess what? There's a number on the back to call. So we see that as a positive thing as well. Just some other things I'd like to highlight about what we're doing. We now participate in the Chief of Staffs of the Army Suicide Task Force meetings and validates that all families have SOS support coordinators assigned and that documented outreach has occurred. Now, you might think that that's not a big deal. It might be somewhat trivial, but it's not. It's not at all. It's very important for SOS to be in those meetings, and it's just recently that we became a part of those meetings. We recently became a member and participate in the DoD Casualty Advisory Board. This joint Army, Navy, Air Force, Marine, and Coast Guard meeting that reviews military casualty policy and ensures survivor concerns are addressed at DoD level. SOS is now a part of those meetings as well. We recently sent out an op order to all garrisons to ensure that their SOS coordinators participate and attend master resiliency training that's taught at the ACSs. Again, just to build their skills more in the area of helping our survivors. And we have also stood up a training program at the MCOM Academy in San Antonio, where 4 times a year we will bring our SOS coordinators in from around the world and teach them and update them on all the new procedures and skills and just things they need to stay up to date on. It's interesting, we had a session in last month, and when I went over to talk with them, the one question on their mind was, is SOS going to stay funded? And of course, it was a very easy answer. Very easy answer. Don't you be concerned about the funding, okay? Of the 94, 95 programs that I oversee for General Ferret on a daily basis, I can tell you which one is at the top of the list, and it's the Survivor Outreach Services Program. So everybody who's listening out there in virtual world and listening here in the audience, don't be concerned about funding, okay? And just to move on, again, I've been asked what are we going to do as far as moving forward, some things that we need to, that we're looking for doing in the future. I feel that we need to continue to leverage the support and advice that our advisory group gives us. A lot of these things that I've talked about and the initiatives and the progress that we've been able to make, the things we've been able to implement over the last couple of years has come about because of the support and advice from that advisory group, because those are the folks that have the pulse and the ear of the survivors out there. They meet twice a year with the Chief of Staff, and they meet 4 times a year with General Ferret. What things are we looking at to change, and maybe some things that we can do better at? I will be the first to tell you that we need to do a better job at partnering and leveraging those 400 NGOs and 80 government organizations out there that we partner with, namely TAPS, as you heard the discussion on TAPS, the things that they are doing, and the grief groups. We need to just do more working with other organizations and filling those gaps, as the Chief talked about yesterday, ensuring that we're partnering with folks outside the gate, because we can't do it all when we recognize that we can't do it all. But it's important that we try to provide the service and support to our survivors that they need, regardless of where it comes from. Regardless of where it comes from. And before I close, I'd just like to share a little story with you. General Ferret talked about his visit out at Fort Sam at the Gold Star event on the 29th of September. I ran into a survivor out there, and she was in a wheelchair, and her son had been killed in Vietnam, and her daughter was with her, and her daughter happens to be one of our SOS coordinators in the state of Delaware. And she reached up and held my hand, and she says, "You just don't have any idea what I went through in '67. She said, "Thank you, thank the Army. Thank you, thank the Army." So with that, as leadership has said, as Army leadership has said, we're going to wrap our arms around our survivors. And we're going to do that in the form of our Survivor Outreach Services program, working with our partners out there. Because at the end of the day, we will be there. Survivor Outreach Services will be there as long as that survivor wants us to be there. Thank you very much.
I know we're close to time, but I do want to ask just maybe 1 or 2 questions, if it's all right with the audience, just a couple quick ones. Okay, this one is from Fort Campbell. As a surviving spouse, I was familiarized with SOS shortly after my husband's death. What benefits are available to my husband's immediate family members, mother, father, sisters, brothers, and at what time can the SOS information be communicated with them?
We're as far as benefits, there are not any actual entitlements that go to the mother and father if they are not the ones that are identified in legal documents or things like that. What I would recommend that individual to do is to make contact with the SOS office there at Fort Campbell. And we've got legal advisors, we have financial readiness advisors there who can provide assistance and help them in any type of benefits that they may be looking for. Okay?
And I think I'll close with this question because it's a very good question, and it's for all of the panelists. And the question is, if you could each provide one piece of advice to people developing programs to better serve your families, what would it be? What considerations would you suggest? Do you want to start, Lisa? She's going to read the question.
This question. I think that there are so many extraordinary communities out there, and that the greatest benefit for developing programs is to partner with programs and making some of our existing programs even stronger, so that if you are in a community, build a Wear Blue chapter, partner with Wear Blue, connect with TAPS and get our kids connected and our spouses connected to support networks and so forth. But I think those partnerships moving forward, we can make good programs great.
For me, I think that survivors want to know that they're not alone, and they want to know that they are not left without their military families, and that there's other people out there that have been through a similar loss. And the more that you can tell them they're not alone, connect them with peers, connect them with peer support, and stay connected with them as far as your unit, or even anniversary cards, birthday cards, welcoming them onto the base and connecting them with peers is a huge help.
In being able to provide advice for building organizations, to piggyback on both of Lisa and Kim's, it's the same thing. Survivors want to know that we're not alone, that we're still out there, that somebody else besides our immediate family still cares about us, and also too, it's our children. A lot of survivors have children, and anything that can revolve around our children, you usually have our vote. So. The children are our future, and that's like our biggest concerns as moms. So I guess each survivor has her own story, their own mission. Just embrace everybody, and cultural diversity is the best thing. Thank you.
Ms. Sarah, did you have any? Well, I think you must all feel the same way that I do. This has been an incredible panel with just an amazing people that are here, the stories that you've shared with us, the direction that you've pointed us in. I can't begin to thank all of you enough for being here with us today and really helping us to do a better job of supporting our surviving families. Thank you so much. And we're going to pick up cards. If you have any questions, make sure that you put them up like this, and we'll pick them up and answer them later.